Hi, and welcome to the Lifestyle Show with me, Pam Joseph. And keeping with government advice through this pandemic, we are doing the show virtually. So you're all very welcome into my humble abode. Once again, I keep saying it every week. I have to say it to everybody. Shout out there to everybody. Thank you ever so much for keep saying this. Keep it up. Good thing. Learning a lot. And they're loving it. So thank you ever so much for that. Now, for the next few hours or so, I request that you please stay tuned, and you're going to be entertained and informed by my guests and I. You're all very welcome to interact with us on the show with any comments you'd like to make, even more so on today's programme, because later on we're going to be focusing on the George Floyd tragedy. We have a panel of guests who will be discussing the issue in depth, and you at home can get involved with questions and comments. So there are various ways to get in touch. Message us via medianet.com, email us at lifestyleonben, all one word, lifestyleonben@hotmail.co.uk. That's lifestyleonben@hotmail.co.uk. Our Facebook page, Lifestyle on Ben, or tweet us at Lifestyle TV Show. Okay, it's a very packed show today. So at this point, I'm actually going to say I've got to bring in the Dark Persuader, aka Anthony Jordan, lifestyle entertainment correspondent.
Hello. How are you?
How are you?
I'm good. I'm actually, the Dark Persuader, whatever. I am triggered this week. I am triggered more than ever before, because I think my breakdown of it is you have the ignorant and the unaware. So I have been on the challenge of both. Some who are unaware of what we've been going through for centuries, and those who refuse to acknowledge it and have claims. And I have been on a onward battle through every form of social media going. Some of it has been helpful and positive. Some people are like, where do you have the energy? I'm like, it needs to be done. We call it the George Floyd's tragedy. It's so much bigger. It's a situation that I don't want it to be just this moment. This is a time now. Change.org will say this is your biggest signatures that we've received and everything. That's all well and good. I'm not here for the boosted egos of I signed this campaign. It's the time for change is now. Everyone watching and listen, I beg and I urge you, acknowledge. Let's keep this and move forward.
I hear that. And hopefully we're going to be getting a lot of that coming from our movers and shakers.
Yes, for sure.
So that's all good, and that's going to be later on. And that's why I wanted to build up on this, so that people can get their messages and comments through as well, so that we could have that, just as you just voiced your opinion on it. We want to hear the people voicing their opinion, setting up questions as well. So that's all good. And I'd like to say, because I like to sit on the fence, and you know me already. I sit on the fence, and I like other people to be putting it out there and doing it like that. So that's all good. I know that we're going to be hooking up just before that as well. There's a great and fantastic, one of our main people that we love on the lifestyle, our gospel guru. She's involved in a new a musical.
Yes. So I do have, I'm calling this like the UK Reggae Collective. Not everybody, because the collective is huge and wide, but there was a few of them that have come together, and it's a special track that I will be featuring to close out the show. It's a very nice one. And very fitting for the moment.
Lovely. So I'll see you a bit later.
Yes, indeed. Enjoy. Keep up the good work, and tune in, everyone. We want to hear from all of you. Sorry, it's not my normal intro, but I'm really passionate about this week. So enjoy.
Thanks. Speak later.
Bye.
Okay, and now England recently reopened schools on the 1st of June. Reception, year 1 and 6 were the first groups of pupils invited. But many parents seem to have opted out, stating that they thought it was too early, and that they also had the backing of 9 unions representing school leaders, teachers and support staff, calling for the government to not only give schools more time, but also more clarity in their guidance. However, other parents and educationalists have had a very different view about it. So joining me, Lifestyle, we have from Essex, Mum Jenny Jones, and Dr. Michele McDowell, an educational psychologist, child psychologist. So hello, ladies, and welcome to the Lifestyle Show.
Hello
there.
Good afternoon.
Hi there. I think we've got Jenny to come on. Jennifer Jones to come on. Maybe she'll join us a bit later, but thank you ever so much, Michele, for coming on. And as I your title there, educational child psychologist. Before, hopefully she will be able to join us, but let's talk about this, because we've been hearing so many things, Michele, about, is it good? Is it too early? Are my kids going to be safe? Oh, what about the teachers and the teachers themselves? Oh, what about me? What about my family? And there are basic reasons, Michele, that's been pointed out. So some of the experts say children in those groups, reception year 1 and year 6, learn vital social skills and start to build their foundations of reading. So it's therefore important that they do get back into the classroom as quickly as possible. Would you agree with that?
I can definitely see it from two perspectives, and also from two perspectives personally, because I'm a parent as well as a psychologist. So I understand the drive to encourage parents to bring their children back to school, because there is no doubt that socially, developmentally, it's the main focus really, particularly in the younger years, for young people to develop their interaction skills, their ability to modulate their emotions, so socially, psychologically, developmentally, it's a really important time, particularly reception, year 1, key stage 1. Essentially, social development carries on throughout school. So any age group, really, it's really important for an aspect of resilience. So that is the ability to work with or to approach adverse situations in a positive way. So, for example, school provides a sense of belonging. It provides a sense of connection and community. Those things can't come from, or just come from home. So we can see that there are really important reasons why there is a drive to send children back to school. However, parents fundamentally have a role of protecting their young people, their children, and nurturing them, and providing a safe space for them and safeguarding their development. So there isn't any doubt in my mind that every parent that's making the decision and choosing that actually they want their child to stay at home is doing that because they're concerned, and really because it's a great unknown at the moment.
It is indeed. The experts also say in the case of year 6 pupils, they had an abrupt end to their primary school careers, and it would be beneficial for them emotionally to return to school just before they head off to the big school. We remember that. Remember going to that big school, we're going to be a big children. Yep. And I mean, that was a transformation. I mean, I couldn't sleep the night. I remember that. I got when I saw that and I read that, I said, I remembered back and I said, do you know something? They've got something there. The ease of going in from your little primary school, you've been there for 5 years with, your young people, you grew up with them. Then you're going to head to the big school, and some of the kids in your classroom, they're not coming with you. You could almost be the only one that in that classroom. No one else has come through from that primary school. So it is a huge undertaking, isn't it?
Absolutely. Look, Pam, the grief and the loss of being abruptly taken from school cannot be denied, for all of year 6, or all of school really. But year 6 is so significant because that transition process begins from the summer term. Yeah. They're thinking about, or even in year 5 now, where they're going away with their group, and they go away on camp, or they go away, they have a time away with a group, and build those connections that will carry on throughout lifetime. I mean, I don't know about you, but I have friends that I've had from primary school to still today. So it's really significant and very important. But we do now need to think as organisations and leaderships within school and the wider government and local authorities of how to design that. So even if schools choose that actually this last 6 weeks of school, they're not going to have year 6 in the way that would have supported a positive ending and a transition to secondary school. What are the creative ways that we can still do things to support the transition and change for year 6 pupils?
I hear that. Just, we had a recent survey, ITN, Independent Television News, had a survey suggesting that 59% of parents were not keen and comfortable about sending their children to school. And due to the fact that many of them said, there are hundreds of people still dying out there from the coronavirus each day, and many are still contracting the illness. So if it's out there and it's prevalent. But I want to go a bit more on that, Michele, because I'm thinking now in the BAME community, African and African Caribbean parents are more so maybe thinking, oh, I've heard this report, I've seen this survey. We seem to be, you know, in our community, rather be prone to be catching it 5 times % in some degrees of our male counterparts catching this disease. So could that be part of the sway? They didn't diagnose it, and they didn't dissect it to say which, you know, sort of nationalities of these parents. But I'm just wondering, could that be a factor with many of our own people, the parents of African and African Caribbean children? Could that be a swaying point?
Absolutely. I mean, I think we need to consider culturally you know, there are lots of different aspects of COVID-19 that have impacted on us immensely. And that is, you know, the socio-economic grouping. A huge proportion of key workers are, you know, are nurses, are the carers, are frontline staff, really. And so for this period of time, they've had to make the decision weekly or daily whether their child attends school. So we mustn't forget that there has been a proportion of a percentage of schools where young people from BAME backgrounds have been attending school throughout. But absolutely, I am sure that that will be a perspective for my own self. That's something that I'm constantly considering, because we know the numbers and the figures, and they seem to be quite alarming, really. Yeah. So it is concerning for parents, and that will be an additional concern. Yeah. Definitely.
Yeah, I think so too. So again, now just on our last point of it, the teachers, you know, in their defense, they are saying, well, what about us? We do not have, we cannot wear actually, you know, personal protective equipment, i.e. masks and gloves, because that would somehow perhaps frighten maybe even the younger children. And it's not a good thing to do. But yet at the same time, then they're not being protected. And many of them are saying that, you know, we are going to be literally taking the place of the frontline workers in the hospitals. They're going to become frontline workers in the schools. So what would you say about that, Michele?
I mean, I do think from a psychological perspective that there's lots of anxiety around, complete anxiety around what do we do with our young people? Do we send them back to school? Do we not? You know, and it's been traumatic this last time, this last experience of this last 2 or 3 months. So all of these emotions and feelings of anxiety and stress are going around, and worry. That, in addition to having to make this decision about whether your child goes back to school or not, for teachers, that's an added addition, because they're also, quite a lot of them are parents as well. So it's really challenging. And I do think it is a chance, an opportunity for us really to think about doing things differently. In Europe, they've really tried to think about bringing much more of the education online and supporting young people with being able, and families with being able to engage online. And that's something that I think we could consider more effectively and be a bit more proactive about.
Thank you, Michele. Thank you, Michele. We've just been joined by Jenny Jones, Essex. Jenny, nice to see you. It's we were sort of rounding it up, if you will, but we just want to get your opinion as a mother now. You're sitting there and you have decided that you will be sending your child back to school. Let's just get a recap. What year is your child, Jenny?
He's in foundation.
Foundation. So we're talking about reception leading on to year 1. Okay.
That's right.
How important was it for you to make that decision to send him back in?
It's a very important decision. Obviously, you know, the health of my child and everything is 100% concern of mine. But it was a real decision we made, but for his benefit mostly, because we feel he needs to be, you know, have that environment. He's only just started last year, September. So kind of at least getting a bit more of that environment, as well as the homeschooling, I think would be great for him, instead of having such a long break and then going back, you know, later on in the year. So I thought, as it's only a couple of days a week, that's what kind of helped with the decision as well. So, but it was really hard. We really thought about it for a few days before we signed anything. We really thought of it, you know, together. My husband and I discussed it. And then we decided it was the best course we thought for him.
Jenny, very quickly, that you mentioned about only a few days a week. So what made up your mind about that was that it was staggered. It was a staggered tier system where it was just a few hours, perhaps a week. Did that help to make your decision?
I think that did kind of help to kind of feel at least he's getting a little bit of something. But yeah, kind of, small periods of time, you know, hours a day and stuff like that was something for me. And yeah, not the every day as well. So as it's just 2 days a week, I just thought that's perfect. You know, he's not too much in that environment for too long a period of time, but at the same, you know, so I just felt more comfortable with the idea of just the 2 days.
Michelle, just come in there quickly. That's an important factor, isn't it? Not the full length of the school week, part of it.
Absolutely. And even for transitioning back to school, it's important that there's kind of a slow process rather than the immediate abrupt going back in. So yeah, a gradual approach, a graduated approach is important.
So we've run out of time. Jenny, thank you for coming back in at this last minute, but at least you were able to say that. Good luck with your son.
Thank you.
Good luck for you for that decision. Dr.
very much.
Michele and McDowell, before you leave, just one thing I need to ask you. I need to get some social media details, but the me finishing, give us a brief on that, because I love that word, me finishing.
Yeah, it's a self-made word. It's about defining yourself by yourself rather than being defined by outside society, community, etc. So it's really very much about building yourself up from inside. So I'm supporting parents, young people, adults, coaching them through a range of different strategies of how to support themselves with defining themselves, as I like to call it. So defining yourself from the inside out rather than from the outside in.
Brilliant. I love that. So website address?
Yep, it's mefinishing.org. So it's definition, but an M instead of the D, mefinishing.org.
Excellent. Lovely. Thank you ever so much, Dr. Michele McDowell and Jennifer Jones. Good luck. And I hope he has a great day at school, even if it's only 2 days.
Yes. Thank you very much. Thank you.
Take care.
Bye-bye. Bye-bye.
Yeah, you just spotted an image there of, just one of many of the protest marches that's been happening across the UK. But right now, we obviously we're going to be brought up on that later on in the show. We're not going to be dealing with that quite yet. Just a little reminder, if you'd like to get your questions in, your comments made, you can do that. You can, through YouTube, you can send in your comments and questions through the YouTube. MediaNet.com, lifestyle, email lifestyleonben@hotmail.co.uk. Now I'd like to introduce you know, a lady that's been on the show before. We're just welcoming her back. She goes by the name of Sherica Spence. She's an award-winning, what I call her, a go-giver, a gift person. She just gives out and not receiving. She always does. But Sherica Spence, founder of Skye Alexandra House, a bespoke refuge for young women. Welcome, Sherica. Hi there. Oh, look, Bobby. Oh, there's Bobby. Hi, Sherica. How are you?
Hi, hello.
How are you?
I'm good. How are you?
I'm good. Thank you very much. Lovely to see you again. It's been a few years now.
Yeah, it has. Yeah.
Tell me, a little person here.
My babe, my new addition to the family.
Addition and name?
Caleb.
Caleb. Oh, lovely. And how old?
He's 3 months now.
3 months. Oh, lovely.
Yeah.
Well done. Lovely.
Thank you.
Is he quiet? Is a lovely quiet?
Yeah, he's very, very quiet. Yeah.
Excellent. Sherica, I actually, you know, sort of didn't do you proud when I said a bespoke refuge.
I think you've done a lot. Award winning. I'm not award winning. No.
Let's talk about the certificate of appreciation for your extraordinary frontline services. Thank you very much. From Proud and Gifted, thank you very much.
I'm not award winning, no.
I will not let that pass me by. But it is more than a bespoke refuge. I mean, at these times now, when we're talking about social distancing, I know it's harder for you, but you're still being able to remotely, you know, deal with these young ladies. Let's give a bit more about this. You started Skye Alexandra House back in 2014, and originally provided 24-hour supporting housing to vulnerable girls at risk of child sexual exploitation, the age between 16 and 18. Now, you had a lot of difficulties. I remember you coming on the show, you had a lot of difficulties trying to financially maintain the home. And, you know, for a little bit of time, it had to close, but it reopened again. And so what we're dealing with is remotely. So reopening remotely, you're still able to support. So talk to us a bit about, for those who wasn't, you know, au fait with the first interview we had and about Skye Alexandra House, talk to us a bit about that.
Okay, so we don't actually have the home no more. At the moment, we're just providing support services. We still continue to train and deliver workshops with schools, training professionals around child sexual and criminal exploitation.
Yes.
So what we do is me and my cousin produced, and my cousin wrote a short film highlighting the child sexual and criminal exploitation of young Black girls in London, because young Black girls are very underrepresented where it concerns sexual abuse, rape, etc. So we done this to kind of highlight CSE from a young Black girl's perspective, due to the fact that there was always resources and materials highlighting other young girls' experiences. So we thought it was important that we highlighted that. So yes, we've been running since 2014. A lot of challenges. There's still a lot of challenges, but I'm hoping to be able to open another home next year. So at the moment, even during COVID now, I'm limited to what I can actually do myself, because I have a young baby now, but my team, and all I can do is like emails and stuff from home, phone calls. But the team that I've got in place now, my colleagues, they are out and about delivering food parcels to young girls and ensuring that they've got food and stuff through everything that's going on. So yeah, if honestly, I can't do all of this without them. Yeah.
Of course, you couldn't do it alone, and that's why, you know, you spoke to us a bit about that before when you said about the help and support from your team members, and you know, but you were able to get the backing, at least a little bit of funding, but it was at least something from the mayor's office.
Yeah, just a little bit, about 5,000. Yeah, but we do what we can. We still have amazing people that from time to time will donate towards it. Yeah.
So what about funding for, you know, for more funding? How are you going about that? Are you getting the feelers out?
At the moment where we're at, obviously, because of as an organisation itself, a grassroots organisation of that's not like a big body. it's still been like a bit of a struggle. So we've had to completely restructure. So I've got a program manager that works with us who's been doing like a lot of work, and she's going to help us in terms of like the restructuring of the organization to help us with sustainability, because like I said, it's a small team with little funding. Like the 5,000 that we got from the mayor's office, everything is out of my own pocket or that through people within the community that wants to donate to us. So that's kind of how we've been operating for the past few years and that. So we're trying to come back bigger and better, hopefully. Yeah.
You know, one of the things with the lockdown, you know, even with, you know, let alone this sort of like horrible child sexual exploitation, we, you know, children as well, young children, you know, with families being abused or whatever. But it's even worse now because with the lockdown, you know, that's even more why you need to step up really to keep these girls, you know, getting in touch with you by Zoom, by telephone, whatever, isn't it? It's even more prevalent now that things could be happening that they shouldn't be happening, but there's this lockdown.
Yeah, so like I said, we only support girls that are at risk of child sexual and criminal exploitation. Obviously, there's a lot of like domestic violence going on, but I can't speak on that experience and stuff because that's not the client group that I work with. But where it concerns the girls that we do support, it is the sexual exploitation for financial exploitation to be able to get money for them so they can eat, and men and some women will take advantage of that situation for these girls. So that's why by us providing food parcels with the money that we got, we can hopefully just help that's enough for them to be able to know, like, look, I've got food to eat, sanitary products, so I'm fine for now. I can keep safe until we're able to do like one-to-one services with them and our group sessions as well.
So these girls, when you say you give them food parcels, they're already in a home, in a shelter?
Yeah, so obviously when we had, because when we used to have the residential, but again, finances, and it's hard to run a business like that when you're the only person, you know, we're not getting funding, and we're the only ones within the organization that's funding it. So not only myself, but my colleagues as well will be funding it too. So it ensures us maintaining and running such a home for young girls was hard to basically keep up. So what we've done in this time, so that we're still able to support young girls, is we've started to work with other homes. So we're supporting young girls who are in residential services with food parcels and that, where they're only living independent. So if they're not in a home that's supposed to be providing that stuff for them, these are young girls that have already left. So these ones are 18 to 21 who are in an independent home, like a hostel or something.
Okay, brilliant. See, this is the reason why you won the certificate of appreciation. This is the reason. But what we want you to do now, Sherica, can you give out the website address or email address? Can people listening to this, watching this, and would like to fund, would like to help you, where can they do that?
So our website is www.skyealexandrahouse.co.uk, or we're on Facebook, Facebook.com/Skye Alexandra House, and then on Instagram we're Skye Alexandra House 15 as well.
Excellent. Excellent. Thank you ever so much. And I can see your hands up. Great that you came on and able to talk to us about that. Wonderful.
No problem.
Keep it up, Sherica.
Thank
and
you.
And kiss Kelly for me. And we wave goodbye. Thank you.
Bye. See you. Bye.
Take care.
Bye.
Hi, and welcome back to the Lifestyle Show. Pam Joseph here, remotely in my humble abode. Right, now, he wears a different career hat now, but he's formerly senior reporter and broadcaster at Choice FM Radio, and still has his ears and his eyes in both the UK and the US of A. Plus, he's my old work buddy. Welcome, Beresford Mack.
Hi, Pam. Can you hear me?
I can see you and hear you. With that voice, you could not ever hear you. How are you, sir?
I'm not bad. Good to see you. Pleasure seeing you again. Oh goodness, I had to go. I normally exercise every day, so I went out early to do the exercise to get back in time to do the show with you. So yes.
Oh well done. You need to keep up the exercise. Need to keep up the exercise.
Yes.
I said in my intro. I said in the intro, Beresford, that you have got a different career hat on, and we're going to be talking about that a bit later on. But as I said, you know, you're my old working buddy there in the newsroom. But you also now differently got a situation where you're USA more or less based now, as well as having things still going on in the UK. So on that score now, and as we're going through what we're going through, we've got the coronavirus pandemic, and now we have what we call a very bad race relations going on across here and America because of the tragic and monstrous death of George Floyd in Minneapolis on the 25th of May. But that in mind now, what are your feelers telling you, your contacts in America? We see these reports, we see everything coming through, but what are you hearing on the grassroots level, on the ground? How is everyone taking it, really? And what are they intending to do to make, dare I say this, to make something out of this tragedy?
Well, Pam, first of all, again, thanks for having me on the show, one. And then secondly, what I would say is what happened to George Floyd should never have happened. He was murdered in broad daylight in the United States. And as a Black person living in Atlanta, and I've said this to a lot of my friends, you worry every day you step out your house. I step out, I go to Walmart, I have to think about so many different things before I get to the supermarket. And then when I get to the supermarket, I still also have to be aware of what's going on. Fortunately for me, or unfortunately for me, I got stuck here in the UK. I'm heading back shortly. From talking to my colleagues that I work with in Atlanta, it's not unfortunate, but what we keep saying is 30 years ago, we were here with Rodney King.
Yeah.
Al Sharpton said it very well at the memorial for George Floyd. And he said, it's not that we don't want to do things, but for years, the system has had its knee on our neck. So we can't move forward. Because I work in the entertainment world, I tend to focus on that. And we both had a private conversation yesterday, and I went off and I did some research, and I started speaking with my contacts again there to find out exactly how are some of the young music artists responding to what's going on. And I saw someone coming at LL Cool J because he did a rap about the whole situation that we're going through as Black people in America. And everyone, a lot of, young people came at him like, oh, your flow is old, this, that. But what I've noticed now, is that a lot of the younger artists, they're speaking up to their followers, not in a way where some people would expect. You're not going to have them coming out with a song like What's Going On, that Marvin Gaye track. There's too many of us dying. What's really going on. You're not going to hear that sort of music, but they would reference what happened to George Floyd in their lyrics. They would reference the whole police beating and the whole police brutality. So should they be on Zoom doing a special concert and rallying more and stuff? Absolutely, I'd like to see that. We all jump together to do so many other things, but I would love to see them come together on Zoom and do, you know, rather than we having these one-on-one clashes, you know, in terms of music, let's all get together, put this together, raise some money, and then put the money behind the organizations that are fighting for equality, for justice, for African Americans in America. I sound like, oh, sorry.
Yeah. I mean, but that's your field. That's what's going out there. You know, the young artists, because just for Beresford's already given the hint now. He's in the entertainment field, and you are promoting young upcoming artists from America. So, you know, do they have the same mindset as the Black British artists, or do you think they've gone way over because they've, like you just said, they've had enough? They're tired. Can they not be bothered?
You see, the thing, Pam, what I say to a lot of artists, because I get to work with so many of them, having, you know, being a consultant for Jaded Records in America, in Atlanta, and they develop artists and for the major labels. And so what I've been talking to my colleagues about is that the struggle in the US is a little bit different from the struggle here in the UK. A lot of these young artists in America have had to go through so much. Whereas here, listen, if you're poor in America, you're poor. There's no system that can help you like here. I remember when they had EMAs and people would just go, kids were going to school just to get the money. That doesn't happen in America. Yeah. So the struggle is different. And I know people will get at me and saying, oh, but it is a racism worldwide. But you have to break it down into context. In America, the system is set up so much that in a way that it affects us as Black people. Yeah. And it's just set up that way. Racism in America is way more blatant in your face than here in the UK. So subtle. So you have institutional racism. You have, you know, the racists are not going to come out and call you the N-word or do certain things. In America, they're going to tell you that. They're going to, you know what I'm saying? So I feel that the power that the UK artists have, yeah, is that they have the financial be all to drive forward the music without the system behind of them. Yeah, because I'm saying if you look at all of the big name artists that are out here in the UK, if they all got together and did a show or put together a package and say to Live Nation, hey, this is what we're doing, they could stop wireless. You see the power? Because rather than having the company coming to you and saying, we're going to book you on wireless, you should be going to the company and say, hey, this is what we have. Yeah, we're going to put it in the park and we're going to fill it out. So either you support us or not. So and so that's what the American artists have. They will put together a screen, you know, let's say a summer tour and go to a radio station and say, hey, listen, we're going to have Chris Brown. We're bringing back B2K. We're going to have Omarion doing his own thing. We're going to have Mario. We're going to bring Bow Wow back. And they put all of these artists together. Yeah. And then go to the corporate and say, hey, we need you to support us, rather than the corporate coming in saying, guys, we'd like to put this together. Would you want to be with us? So that's the power we have to get equality. That's the power we have to change things. And so I think in America, the young artists are realizing that. And so they're signing each other. That's the difference. They take, for example, Gucci Mane. He will sign a young upcoming artist before they blow. And then he takes that artist to the record label and say, hey, this is my artist. Yeah, we've done all the groundwork. I only want distribution from you. So, you know, we have the power to drive and change the system to give us that justice. But all we're asking for the system to do, which I don't easily forget, is just take your knee off our neck for a second. Pam, if that knee comes off, do you know how powerful we are? I mean, sometimes I wonder, is that what they're scared of?
Yeah, of course.
Yeah. Or what have we done? What have we done to you people? Yeah. And I'll say it like that. What have we done? Just tell us so we understand. You know what I'm saying? But then we have to get up now and take the steps to show the system that we don't have to depend on you. And I think in the music world, and I could only speak, 50% because I'm in Atlanta, where a lot of the music is being turned out now. In the music world, that's what you're seeing. A lot of these rappers, all the little this and the little that and the young this and the young that, they've been signed by Young Thug before they even came out, and Young Thug is not even in his 30s. And he's signing an artist who's 22.
Oh gosh, and so perhaps the British, whether you're in production, musical production, whether you're an artist or what have you, they could learn a lot from the way the Americans do it, because we don't have enough Jay-Z's over here. We don't have enough producers over here.
Pam, you have a lot. There are a lot here. It's the opportunity, and I think that. And I'll give you a classic example. I remembered clearly, and I'll never forget this. I remembered clearly when Future first came out. He wasn't as big as he was. And the guy who was working with him, I had worked with him at Platinum Music Publishing when I first moved to Atlanta. He said, this guy's going to be big. Yeah, try and push his music in the UK for us. I called up a music plugger out here. He laughed at me. He said, where are you going with this foolishness? Ain't nobody going to listen to this. I said, guys, this is going to be the next thing. Yeah. Guess what happened? 4 years after, when Future blew up, then he's reaching out to me asking, how much is it going to cost to book him for a show? I said, well, hey, I lost that contact. Not that I lost it, but I just didn't want to do it because he didn't believe in what I was saying. See what I'm saying? So before, they have to be more open. There's enough Jay-Z's right here. Maybe not on Jay-Z, not on the billionaire level, but on the hustle mentality. They're here in the UK. I think because you gotta understand, in America, there's a saying, you snooze, you lose. Everybody, every young artist believes that they're the next best thing since sliced bread.
Yeah.
So they're out there hustling. Here in the UK, you get one hit, it goes to your head, you put another song out, you get another, it's gravitating to what you're doing. And it's all, let me just do what I got to do and keep my little cleat tight because I see this other artist as a competition. Yeah, no, I should reach out and open the door. All we need is one person to get their big toe through the door. So it keeps it open. And then all of us just come in, push it back.
Come in like that. Yeah, Beresford, I hope, and I'm just going to say this now, that, everything you said, it's great, but I just hope that we see the action. Sometimes people are saying that we keep talking. We're really good at talking. We really do talk well, but sometimes, nothing comes out of it. But let's move on because, time is running out. We want to talk to you a bit more about your, you said you're consultant, Jaden Records, Atlanta. We want to talk to you about that because the viewers need to know how you're going to be having a proper relationship with the lifestyle show in terms of us raising the profile of these up-and-coming artists from the US of A.
Right. And so basically, and these are discussions that are being having behind the scenes with yourself and the team. What we have in the US is that we have a lot of young artists and a lot of independent artists coming through. And they're interested in getting their music and their brand in the UK. So a perfect way of doing this is by working with Lifestyle on Ben to give them an opportunity like what you're giving me right now to be on here to talk about what I do and about this relationship. So what we're going to start looking at is now bringing some of these artists together or having the opportunity for them to come in and speak to you, Pam, on a regular basis. About their music, about their brand, exposing them to the UK via their video, their music, and just talking with you. We're going to be developing that. We're in the advanced stage of getting it done, and it's going to be exciting because they truly want to do it. They love the UK, although a lot of them think that the whole of the UK is Europe. They get here, they get on a platform like this. It's going to be great for them, and that's what they're looking forward to doing. And I'm excited about it because I think it's going to give them that opportunity to come into a space where they generally would not know how to do it unless they were signed by a major label.
Excellent, excellent, excellent.
Beresford, you guys
working with you. We're going to be enjoying working with you. So what we want to do, Russ, right now as we end, can you give us any, social media contacts?
Okay, so I'm not great on social media, but I tend but this is the thing, Pam. And people go, well, why are you not? Because my referrals come from inside of the industry. So I don't go out and advertise my service. I get referred to by people who I've worked with. But if anything, you can always check out jadedrecords.net. That's in the US. You can send them an email. It's all on the website, info@jadedrecords.net. And and just let them know that you're interested in doing stuff, and they'll pass it on to me, and we'll take it from there. Or we'll have a conversation about it and put as much information as you can in there, so that we know who we're coming back to talk to. And obviously, secondly, hey, Lifestyle on Ben, reach out to yourself, Pam, and and the team, and you guys can contact me and let me know what's happening.
Brilliant. Absolutely wonderful. And it's great to see you and hear from you again, Beresford.
Good to see you again. It's been a long time. So, hey.
I know. Do take care. And of course, we're going to be hooking up from time to time.
Absolutely.
Take care. Thank
Absolutely.
you.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Have a great day.
Yeah, you too. Thank you.
Right, yeah, bye.
Okay. All right on. I think we're going to go straight to the big one for today. So we're going to be back after this. Hi, and welcome back to the Lifestyle Show with me, Pam Joseph, in my, what do I call it, my humble abode. We're all doing this remotely. It's all good, keeping up the directions, government directions for the COVID, so distancing. Great. Now, at this point, I'm going to make a little speech here. Away from COVID crisis affecting the entire world, one issue that's practically almost pushed the pandemic aside. The brutal, racist and tragic death of 46-year-old George Floyd in Minneapolis in the States while being detained by 4 police officers on the 25th of May. Now, it's made headline news across the globe, and protests and marches have also been taking place, many of which have been more or less peaceful, but with a very clear message: Black Lives Matter. So we'd really like to hear your views and any questions you'd like to ask our guests in the second half of this segment. So, you can do that through the YouTube channel, MediaNet.com. Also, lifestyle, email lifestyleonben, all one word, lifestyleonben@hotmail.co.uk. Get your messages and comments through that way. See, Anthony Jordan.
Hey.
Where are my guests?
Incoming. To be fair, with the protest going on and everything going on, and I believe there's also some other panels and discussions going on, we do have a slight delay in people coming in. But yes, there is myself, who is very, very willing to discuss. And again, guys, if you are watching on Facebook, if you are watching on YouTube, please, the MediaNet Live, just chat in there, just type it away. You've seen comments coming up. Thank you to everyone who has done that. Join in. We will interact with you as much as possible. That is just the truth of the matter. So first of all, can I just say a big shout out and thank you to Beresford, one, for some really positive messages that were there, but also equally for the fact that I am looking forward to what will be coming next as the entertainment corner side of it. We've had this relationship before. It's back, and I am not taking my foot off the gears on this one. I am looking forward to bringing music together, entertainment together, and that is the way. Most definitely. Pam, you touched on the subject of the George Floyd, the matter of Black Lives Matter, and it's big, it's huge. As I've said at the top of the show, I've had some severe discussions going on, and some people really seem to believe that by seeing Black Lives Matter, they don't understand. They want to know where is all lives matter. In order for all lives to matter, Black lives need to matter. It's all on the equal platform. To anyone who's watching and doesn't understand it, that's what it's about. That is the mission that this is about, is that once there is one sector, be it Black, be it any other nation, that are suffering, that are not getting equal treatment, then a movement has to rise. And that's why this is here at this moment.
Sorry, you know why I keep looking towards my slide? Because the questions are popping up on the lifestyle on Ben email. So I keep...
by all means.
Oh, that's another one. So they're burning already as we speak. So there's comments and questions. So I'm just looking at that, and I'm really glad.
No. This is the pleasures of life. You get me.
You know what I mean? It's great that people are touching base on this. It is a huge thing, but many people have been, sort of like making their comments and speaking to me, whether that's on the road, whether that's, people that I know and calling me and what have you. And to be honest with you, there are two ways here. You're either going to get positive feedback on what's happening in the UK. They do have concerns about the US, but I think people are more focused on the UK. They want to know about what's happening here. What are we going to do about it here? Right. So you get well, what is the point? Some people will say about these protests, is it really? And then some people will say, no, we need it. And then we need to persevere with that. So, at the end of the day, let us keep trying to find out what the people want and what they think about what's going on. I do believe now we have retired Metropolitan Police Superintendent Dr. Leroy Logan, MBE, who is now on the platform. So there we are. Hello there, sir. How are you?
I'm good. How are you?
I'm not too bad at all. Thank you ever so much for joining us. I don't know whether you heard anything we was talking about just now. We've been asking people since yesterday to send in their comments, to send in their questions about this. So on the second half of this segment, we are going to sort of like come out with the questions and with the comments of people, across the UK. And can I say that looking at the screen, there's quite a lot of questions and comments to be made. Hopefully we are going to be joined before we do finish this segment by Patrick Vernon, social commentator and campaigner. We're going to be joined by MP for Leicester East, Claudia Webbe, and also youth mentor Louis Howell. But for now, Leroy, can I say thank you ever so much again? And let's talk about this. There's a lot of issues here, and I'm looking at the ramifications of George Floyd's death to impact on race relations here in the UK. Talk to us about that. How has it impacted on race relations in the UK?
Well, I think it's laid bare a lot of the systemic failures and institutional racism in particular around not only policing, but other public services where they have lost trust and confidence. And in particular, the Black community feel that they are not served by a lot of these institutions, including policing. They feel they're treated with a lack of respect and dignity. And as a result of that, they think, really, this is not an organization for me. And they disconnect, and it needs to improve. And, I'm hoping that, this George Floyd incident will say, listen, once and for all, we'll get the leadership from central government, we will get leadership from the mayor, the Home Secretary, to get a grip of these systemic failures through institutional racism once and for all. And no, don't take us for granted. Don't undermine us, undermine our intelligence or anything like that. Just get on and deal with this. As we thought it was going to happen in 1999, when the publication of the Macpherson inquiry started to get to grips with some of these things. But over the 20 years, it's been diluted. You know, racism and equality has been kicked off the agenda. In fact, it's been kicked into the gutter. And so it's brought it all back. I'm glad to see people of all backgrounds and ethnicities coming together, just like the one who are going to fight the National Front. I remember in the 70s, black and white, unite and fight the National Front. And I think that's what's going to happen almost 40 years later. And let's hope for the best. I
mean, I was reading some of the comments that I've just seen there, Leroy. People are talking about what difference is this going to make? You know, after the riots with, you know, the Duggan death and the Tottenham kicked off and, you know, it went across the UK, if you will. But, you know, they're asking that question. But, you know, we deal with that in another moment. But as a former police officer, one of the things that I've heard people say is that what we saw there, what the police officers did to a black male, we know that that does happen over here. So could this be the turning point in the training of officers in the British police force now, for them to sort of turn the screw, if you will, and retrain, or, you know, new trainees come in and adapt a new way of approaching and questioning black males in the UK?
You know, there's nothing in training that makes a cop racist. What a lot of this comes from is from how they're brought up and how they look at people of color, and in particular black men, and how they fear them, because that's a lot of it. And as a result of that, you need to make sure your recruiting process filters out those very negative racist cops. And, you know, they're very good at cloaking it in, you know, I want to keep the peace and help people and be a service to all backgrounds. But once they get into the culture of the organization, they assimilate, and a lot of them are into this control power trip. And that's why these heavy-handed incidences occur time and time again. For the most minor of offences, whether it's a traffic offence or antisocial behaviour, it's very hands-on. And I used to make sure that my officers were sanctioned if they did not do what they're supposed to do. The other thing is, once you get them in the organisation, they need to have proper leadership, supervisors, sergeants, inspectors with the right ethical leadership to hold them to account, right? You don't want, as I call them, constables with stripes, or basically sergeants who let the constables do anything they want. So you need to have proper supervision and leadership, and make sure that the training they got in their foundation course is used properly, and all their actions is proportionate and necessary, and it's not gung-ho, seeing red through the blue lights and sirens. And then as a result, that you want independent oversight of all aspects of what they do. And a lot of that came through the Macpherson inquiry in 1999. I gave evidence to say that the police service was institutionally racist, and their recommendations, and I know that was reviewed last year by a Home Affairs Select Committee. So I'd like to think they can resurrect that report, check how this organisation, the police and other institutions like the Crown Prosecution Service, etc., and start to get to grips with this. So it can be done relatively quickly if you get the leadership from the top, the Prime Minister, the Home Secretary and the Mayor.
Yeah. So again, then going on that side of it, is it all about sort of like lobbying, you know, and doing that in the same sort of like, you know, the way that, you know, the Lawrences did, you know, conducted themselves, you know, rather than the sort of like, you know, militant, you know, approach to it? You know, do you think we ought to be doing this on the basis of, you know, that's what they like, let's do what they want, let's lobby, let's get petitions going on, let's reach to the Houses of Parliament, into the Lords as well, to start getting, you know, looking at legislation as well and things like that?
Well, I think lobbying has been done since we've been in a position to really lobby on having black MPs and people in authority. So that's going on, I would like to think. But in all honesty, it's when there are drastic actions taken, it gets the attention of those in the powers that be. You know, after the Lawrence inquiry in 1999, we had the Duggan issue. And of course, the riots got the attention of the Prime Minister and the Mayor, Boris Johnson, as it was then. And David Cameron and Boris Johnson came up with this fear all youth and all violence is gangs. And, you know, when they start talking about gangs, they're always talking about black people. So that's, as a result of that, it was quite clear that they didn't get it. And then it went into this false narrative that all violence involved gangs. And so, you know, the narrative took time to be eroded. And it's only when Boris decided to step down as mayor that they came out clean and said, this violence is down to a crime and not just any black person. That to stop. So in all honesty, we've got to change that narrative. And so the lobbying has to be changing the narrative, owning the narrative, because we don't want to have violence, but I can understand why it happens. I mean, I was at the march on Wednesday.
Leroy, at this point, let me just get in the few other guests that's come in. Just one moment, keep a pin there. Claudia Webbe, MP Leicester East, has joined us. Hello, Claudia. Thank you for joining us.
Hello.
We had Leroy Howell's youth mentor. He was there a moment ago. Can we get him back on? But at this point, we were on this point, Claudia, if you just came in when Leroy was responding to a question that was put in about, should we go through to the lobbying stages? Is that the way to go? And he was responding in that way. Do continue. Hello there, Louis. Thank you for joining us. At this point, we're still dealing with the, the question put forward about lobbying and going through it that path. And Leroy, would you like to continue?
Yeah. So as I said, there is a time and place for lobbying. Lobbying has been done, and we've got to hold people to account and let them do the job they're supposed to do with the independent oversight, because you can't just leave the police to monitor themselves like they've been doing for the last 10 years. You need to have people who will say, listen, why do you do the things you do, and why is the impact? And obviously, it's not just about how many stops they do, it's what is the impact on trust and confidence? Because the cornerstone of police legitimacy is trust and confidence. So you can't just do stops for the sake of it. It has to be intelligence-led. So all of those checks and balances have to be in place. And I truly believe we can get a critical mass of organizations to really go behind even Operation Black Vote and what they're doing about the race equality strategy that I was one of the co-signatories of, to really hold organizations to account, including the police.
Including the police. Okay, at this point, Claudia, let's bring you in at this point. Yeah, I mean, lobbying is one way, protesting, marching, peaceful mind is another way. What else can we push out there to get changes and proper changes going on?
Well, first of all, let me just say for the record that I stand, of course, in full solidarity with the family, friends and community of George Floyd, Minneapolis. And those of us in the UK, obviously we cannot ignore yet another death of an unarmed black man in police custody, and nor can we ignore the racial inequalities that exist in our country. So I'm glad that you are raising this issue today in terms of this subject, because we know that these protests continue, and as organized by Black Lives Matters and others, these protests on the streets continue, and despite the risks that it poses in terms of people's lives. And of course it was the George Floyd lynching that brought people, but of course we know that that's not what's just keeping them on the streets, and why people remain on the streets is because as probably has been said already, that knee remains on our necks, and until that knee comes off our necks and enables everybody to have the opportunities, then we cannot end the kind of protest and demand that we are making in terms of racial justice and tackling those racial inequalities in a whole range and sphere of our lives, whether that's housing, education, the criminal justice system itself. You know, those inequalities cannot continue to exist where we continue to fare worse as African, Caribbean, Asian communities, as Black communities, where we continue to face worse in this. And so what we do need is we do need change. And obviously there is a role to play for Parliament in terms of bringing about that change. It's about change in terms of the systems, the processes, and the legislation that keeps people down. And therefore we have to, it is about systemic and structural change that people are looking for. And I think that that's right, and we have to keep the pressure on, because we are coming into a deep recession, and we know from previous recessions what that has meant for Black communities and how we fare in those recessions. And so it's really important that we keep the pressure on until we get change, because no change happens without demand. And that's why I think it's right that people make those demands. And so I'm looking forward in thinking that those changes are very straightforward and simple. No longer can we be in our inner cities and see institutions run in terms of the decision making of those institutions continuously run without the voices of Black communities. Too many times in the seniority of decision-making bodies, we don't see any Black faces at all, even when you have cities which are as diverse as my own constituency of Leicester and Leicester East, or in London. The decision makers are not diverse and reflective of those cities. That has to change. The other big change that is needed is in the media. The way that our voices are represented is not proper. We are not properly represented in the way that we should be represented in terms of the media. So the media is in a sense is a body that is basically misrepresenting us and not reflecting the true essence of us as Black people. And that change will not happen until not only the decision makers, but the production, the design, the output and the outcome reflect our communities, and that we've got more people employed in those bodies and on those trusts and those boards making those decisions. And then the other greatest big change is what we need in Parliament. We've made significant steps, of course, in having more representation of Black communities in Parliament, but it's still not enough, still doesn't reflect the population at large. And so we do need the changes there as well. Now that's what I call in effect the three nexus of power that needs to change. But beyond that, we need to see systemic and structural changes, so that it is, we've been through this crisis, this coronavirus crisis, and we must now know, the society must now wake up to the fact that it's not the billionaires or the wealthy that are people that we rely on, but it's the nurses, it's the care workers, it's the checkout attendants, it's the cleaners. Those are the people that we rely on, and it has to be just that these people are given a proper and decent wage that people can live on. They're given proper rights and recognition, and that is what needs to change as well. Because
just bring in the voice in here, because we've got Louis Howells. Are you still with me? Youth mentor Louis Howells. Can we get another side of the coin here with the youth mentality out there, what's happening? We saw on the videos and on the films that we see a lot of young people are on these marches and protests, very young people. So I want Louis, can you hear me, Louis, to come in on this and to talk about what you're hearing on that aspect? Because, we get it every time, don't we, that it's students, it's the young people, and they're the ones really trying to come in and make a change. Louis, can you hear me? Louis, can you hear me? Oh, he's very static there. Hiya, can you hear me? Okay, hopefully that can be fixed. Louis Howells, 100 Black Men campaign group there. yeah, I mean, you know, you watched the footage, you watched, you know, the crowd, and if you looked, you could see it so clearly that there was so, you know, young people. It's all about the youngsters now, is it not? It's all about them coming out and making their voices heard. And, you know, what we do want to do, I mean, Leroy, and I know Claudia, you're going to agree with me on this. Let's keep these marches going on, if you will. Let's protest. Let's keep it peaceful. We need to emphasize the fact that we don't want to create a riot. We do not want to end up like it's been in the US.
But we don't even need to emphasize it. We know that history has taught us that organized, peaceful resistance will bring about change. And that's why we need to support Black Lives Matter, because it's without organized, peaceful resistance, change cannot happen. And so we have to support Black Lives Matter and the way that they are moving this forward and this agenda forward. And it does feel different. And we've got to seize this opportunity, because this is the greatest time for change to happen. We cannot go back to business as usual. We've got to see systemic and structural change. And I agree with young people that until that systemic and structural change happens, no one should leave the streets. Everyone should continue to demand that change and that justice. And I, for one, will be showing my solidarity with those who protest in this way. Of course, we must remain safe. Of course, we must keep our physical distance, but we must always maintain our social solidarity, because that is what needs to change as well. The language that is being used.
Let's just have a little break there, because we've got now Patrick Vernon going to be coming in. OBE Patrick Vernon, campaigner and commentator. We need to get Louis back in, but we're going to just take a little break so we can get Louis back in as well. And I formally welcome you, Patrick. But let's just take a little break now. You can see some images of what's been happening across the week. Okay, there's some images there. What you did see there also was the memorial service that was held on Thursday, in Minneapolis for George. But as Patrick, you've just come in now. Let's go straight on to you, because what we did do with this second section, we were going to be opening up to the people, and it's just loads. So I really would have to come back to Louis a bit later, but I can start to kick off with some of these questions. Thank you, Patrick.
No problem at all.
The first one I'm going to say is Matthew comments, until the British press are scrutinised and penalised in the way they report on Black-related issues, we will never see a change to the mindset of the majority of white people here and abroad. Patrick, would you like to comment on that then?
Yeah, I mean, it's an important point, and obviously it's great and it's important that there's lots of solidarity for George Floyd and what's happened in America, but we've got our own history of Black Lives Matter here. I mean, I grew up in Wolverhampton, and one of the very first campaigns I was involved in was the murder of a black man in the next clothes shop back in 1987. That's over 30 years ago, Quinton McKerbin. And even 30 years on, there's been no justice for the family at all. And we've got countless and countless of these stories. And the media sometimes, there have been times when the media has played a key role. So the classic example was the Daily Mail. They worked closely with the Lawrence family when it came to the murder of Stephen Lawrence in 1993. But apart from those exceptions, most of the media, they rather prefer to do a US story than a UK story, which is really sad.
It's sad, it is sad. Let's bring in Louis. Louis, thank you. Louis Howells. Can you hear me clearly?
Yeah, I can hear you fine. Can you hear me?
Thank you so much. Yeah, okay. That first part, we could have got more out of you, but I do know that you represent 100 Black men and you are our youth mentor. But we need to sort of get some of these questions and comments out by these people that started from yesterday. So Norman from Basingstoke, and maybe maybe this could be something for you. Norman from Basics though asked, why isn't there more being done to root out racist individuals who've managed to join the police force in the UK? Leroy, you put a hint on that, because I believe therein lies the problem with our British police. So root out racist individuals who've managed to join the police force in the UK. Let me ask you this, Louis. You as a young person, and you've got young friends, and you've got people that have been, if you will, stabbed, maybe even under suspicion of you. What is the reaction of young people about how they're being approached, how they're being questioned by British officers?
No, massive levels of frustration, as you can imagine. You know, for myself, as much as, you know, I fall under the age of 30, I wouldn't necessarily classify myself in many ways as young as some people might say, just because I've been doing this area of work for so long, both in a professional capacity and in a voluntary capacity. But the frustration clearly exists. But I think what is always helped in that situation for those young people is when they start to appreciate the fact that there are some ways they can go about conducting themselves if they're in a specific situation where they may be targeted and or approached by those officers that are clearly operating from a point of view that we know is discriminatory. And that is one thing, though. That's about those young people taking that responsibility. But as we know, it shouldn't be their responsibility to have to always conduct themselves in that way, because of the fact that the institution itself needs to be able to make changes. So the frustration definitely exists. I think that's why you do start to get in a lot of local communities that divide, where there then becomes a sense of distrust towards the institution that is the police force. And then once that distrust is in place, it becomes very hard to be able to go about repairing those. And what you often see from the police force is they will then try and, if possible, identify people who might be willing to join the force that are from minority ethnic backgrounds, be it Black or Asian or otherwise, but specifically here we're talking about the Black community, in the hope that that representation helps to build bonds and build relationships. But as we know, representation is one thing, but that doesn't necessarily lead to systemic change, because you might be able to externally show me someone that looks like me, but that person has very little decision-making power. That person has very little ability to be able to go about creating the changes that are needed from a policy standpoint in order for those changes to be made. And even then, that person may be someone who is actually being racially discriminated against by their own peers, by their own colleagues. You know, I've actually got a friend who I was speaking to just on Wednesday this week, who, you know, young lady, Black girl, who's become a police officer in the last couple of years. And she says she has to try and call out racism, but she finds it a consistent struggle to try and call that out within that environment where you can overtly see the level of racism that exists. Do you know what I mean? So speaking on behalf of the young people, as I say, the frustration exists, but I think the thing that's actually more scary is the fact that they don't see that as changing, full stop. They don't see there being a change that can be made there regardless. So their main thing is just the distance.
Mm-hmm. Leroy Logan has a former police superintendent. Would you agree with that?
Absolutely. In fact, I've been running a youth leadership program since 2001. It started in Westminster. And Claudia was chair of the Westminster Race Equality Council, if I remember correctly. And that leadership program we set up, called Young Leaders for Safer Cities, has always been a litmus test of how young people perceive. Because we go all across London, and predominantly from deprived areas. And they've always said they feel over-policed and underprotected. And they find some of the Black officers can be more draconian than the white officers, because that Black officer sometimes wants to fit in with his peer group and seem to be willing. And that's a case of being totally assimilated and groomed within the police unit. And that's one of the drivers behind us setting up the Black Police Association 25 years ago, because we realized that we have a problem with the occupational culture, and it has to be dealt with, and it's fueled by the Police Federation. They're the ones that, similar to what's happening in the States now, when officers are being looked at for discipline or even criminal proceedings, that their Police Federation or their unions are the ones that putting pressure on the senior officers to say, listen, there's not a problem, or putting pressure on the judiciary as to what they're supposed to do. So we had to fight against those sort of internal lobbyists and how they influence externally as well. So I know the importance of having that influence that Louis spoke about at the strategic level, and that's why the BPA even now works with the commissioner, not as much as I would like to see, but at least they are there. But it's also a question of those officers of colour who are at the senior level have to speak truth to power. Unfortunately, a lot of them are being manipulated and they want to acquiesce, you know, but at some stage when the butt's kicked, that's when they step up and say, yes, oh, we have institutional racism or whatever.
Yes.
So we need to make sure that we work with our young people, and that's why the charity we have now with that leadership program called Void Youth, we talk about this. Even now in this COVID arena, we're working with them and also with the Black Lives Matters. And that's one of the reasons why I went to the march on Wednesday, and I saw how the positive vibe that those young people were creating and the desire to put their health to one side to really focus on this systemic issue that's been left bare for so many years. All I want to say is let them do the protesting, but safely for their health and well-being. Wear the mask, social distancing and everything like that. But I think I would encourage them to make their voices known on all sorts of fronts.
On all sorts of fronts. Indeed. And Leroy, in regards to everything that's been said just now, it shouldn't be a deterrent for young people to join the force. So we're not saying young people should be encouraged, you know, from the BAME community to enroll the British police force. They have every right to do so. And maybe the more the merrier.
But you know,
who wants to join the police service, they should join it. Absolutely.
Yeah, definitely. Let's move on a little bit quickly. Shirley from Manchester asks, the trouble we have in this country is that many Black people who seem to have made it become very quiet and are not involving themselves in political, racial issues such as this. Yet, this is the very time we need their voices. Patrick, would you like to comment on that?
Yeah, sure. I mean, it's a fair point to make regarding that. And I think some of us have worked in senior management. I've worked in senior management in NHS, but that never stopped me raising my concerns on the impact of violence and what's happened in the community. But I think this is a comparison with us in America. And what's quite clear is you can see a number of high-profile celebrities and business people willing not only to put their money in their pocket. I mean, we just heard that Michael Jordan is going to donate $100 million to fighting organizations. But we don't have those same voices here in the UK. And one of the reasons is we haven't got a collective energy and a collective leadership that supports each other. So often it's always the individual. So I've known Leroy for years, I've known Claudia for years, and it's just the same voices that are always fighting the causes. And what we need to do, and I'm hoping for this Black Lives Matter resurgence in the UK, that more voices will come out on the front line, put their head above the parapet, and that includes senior people in political life, in public life. We expect them, it'd be great if they could get involved more. Some did get involved during the Windrush scandal, but not enough. And we need to have a platform so they can feel confident that they can speak out and we will support each other.
I think there's, if you don't mind me jumping in there, Pat, if I can just add to that, just to reinforce something Patrick said, which is what maybe causes that situation is potentially the idea that because we are so often taught that in order to be able to succeed in life, it's about what you do as an individual living in a quote unquote meritocratic society, which allows you to then be able to thrive and prosper on a personal level without understanding that you operate within a collective context. So, if we actually break down what racism is, technically racism cannot exist on an individual level because racism is a group construct. Therefore, meaning if you understand that racism exists on a group level, you have to help I'm going to speak from the viewpoint of young people because, for example, I run 2 businesses, one of which operates in the education sector, one of which does a lot of work around youth and community engagement for charities, social enterprises and corporates. And I volunteer with 100 Black Men of London, and I'm a trustee of a small youth charity doing mentoring in a different context. But regardless, what I try to say is that if from a young age, people are brought up to understand that, yes, it's important for you to thrive on an individual level, but everything contributes to the group to which you are a part of. And that collective consciousness and awareness of that should allow them to appreciate that no matter what I am doing, I am not only representative of, but I am here to go about operating in such a context that ensures that my group can thrive. Now, if that hasn't happened for those people who are now in those positions of power, influence in the public domain, etc., they are not necessarily even aware or understanding of how they can go about making an impact right now. Because they might even have that concern of, if I speak, will that hinder my current position, stuff like that, which we could argue is a very selfish way to operate. And I would say most of them are not ignorant, but there is a concern about, if I do this, what impact would it have? John Boyega made a phenomenal speech earlier this week. What was the key part everybody remembers? We all remember the part where he said, I don't know if I'll have a job after this.
Lose his job.
That concern. He should never really have that concern, because we should have such an infrastructure that ensures he is supported full stop. However, he knows he operates in a group context. So I just wanted to add that as well.
Yeah, that's lovely. Thank you very much. Claudia, I've got one for you. Directly ready, I think this goes for you. Jess from Wolverhampton asks, can we start strongly lobbying government to implement Black history into the school curriculum so that white young people can truly understand what we as a race have had to put up with, and why we come out in our masses when something like this happens?
The simple response to that question is, which is a repetitive question, is yes. We don't have to wait till we're inside of government to do so. That is something that, like the other questions, however, are focused on the individual. Should there be more Black police officers? Yes. Should more people who are Black in positions speak out? Yes. Should we have more education of individuals in schools and other places? Yes. But these are individual responses that focus on the individual. What we're talking about in terms of the change that is required is systemic and structural, and therefore you've got to tackle the root problem. It is not about Black faces in high places that are going to bring about change. We must understand this. We cannot leave the legacy and future of our lives into waiting until white people become educated about what is going on. This massive movement that is now happening on our streets is a catalyst for change. We need to build on that in terms of the systemic and structural changes that are necessary. For example, we have to shout loudly and call for the UK to ban the sale of anti-riot equipment, including tear gas, rubber bullets, riot shields and weapons that are now being used disgracefully, supplied to the US, being used brutally to clamp down on those protesting peacefully in terms of state-sanctioned racism. We must call this out. This is what you call structural change that is necessary. The UK government must condemn the racist actions of Trump. If we remain silent, then of course that is what happens in terms of structural racism, and we must challenge it wherever it appears in the world. And if we, this is not about what we do as individuals. This is about a systematic change and structural change that is necessary. And it's right for us in the UK to understand we are not immune from the disease of state-sanctioned racism, and therefore we as Black people, we know that we disproportionately suffer at the hands of the criminal justice system, but we disproportionately suffer at every nexus of society, and that must change, because we've seen already that it's not that who really matters and what really needs to change in society. So we've got to think 38 feet above ground instead of 1 feet above ground. We've got to really get up off our knees actually and stand up and know that we can go forward with the right policies that are necessary to bring about change. But we've got to demand it. We've got to enable that. We've got to understand what we're demanding, how we're demanding it, and who we need to support. But it's not about just having black faces in high places. That's not going to bring about the change that we need.
We've got to round up, but I've just got, because so many of them are to do with the protests and the pandemic. So I've just picked one of them. So you guys, you have to make it short and brief. But Dom from Bristol, I'm going to use your question, Dom, because it's short and sweet. Are the organisers rarely thinking about the coronavirus when they organise these rallies? Brief from each, please.
Well, can I just say, I went to the march on Wednesday and I didn't see any stewards or any sort of information to say, please keep your social distancing if you've got masks, or even assisting with masks. The only time I saw that sort of health consciousness was when we marched from Hyde Park to Parliament Square, and then we went up to Trafalgar Square before there was a bit of conflict at Downing Street. And I saw some people without tabards to say the stewards, they had some hand sanitizers and they were giving someone, squirting a little in your hand and that was the only time. And then I didn't see the police engaging with any stewards. I didn't see any stewards, as I said. So I really think that if you're going to do these sort of protests, doing it peacefully, but doing it healthily is the key.
Thank you, Claudia.
It is what we demonstrate. I mean, I was out in Parliament on Wednesday when the peaceful demonstrators arrived with their masks, many of whom carrying sanitizer. I went out with my mask. I had a sanitizer in my hand too. We've got to recognize these events. This is really what you call policing by consent. The people outnumber the police. The police can't manage these events like this. This is what you call UK policing by consent in action. What we need to actually be calling out, what we really need to be worried about, is how the police are able to use riot-clad horses as weapons against peaceful protesters. That's what we need to really be calling out. That is against the type of policing is against the concept of policing by consent. We need to focus our energies in the right places. At the end of the day, the protest that we're making on the streets today is almost unstoppable. But people are wearing their masks, they're carrying their hand sanitizers, and they are marching for justice, and that deserves our full support.
Thank you, Claudia. Patrick.
Events in Hackney organised by Stumps of Racism. I know both those events took place outside Hackney Town Hall. There were about 600 people, not as many as people obviously in central London, but everyone, there were lots of families there, there were lots of local people there, and all of them had their masks, all of them were practicing social distancing, and all the speakers who were using our tannoys and loudspeakers had proper equipment to use. So I think the organisers have taken responsibility so we can actually march and demonstrate peacefully.
Excellent. Last one from you, Louis. Please make it brief.
Yeah, I mean, again, similar, just to echo what's been said, I think, there is also a level of personal responsibility that has to be taken. And I think every single protester has, well, I say every single, that would obviously be a sweeping statement, but I think the large majority have taken it upon themselves to do what they need to do as it relates to wearing masks, as it relates to socially distancing where possible. Of course, we're seeing videos where maybe once they've actually arrived at a destination to which they want to be able to make the main demonstration, the crowds look a bit more bunched, but I don't think that people are doing that unnecessarily and for a sustained period of time to the point where they're ignoring the health guidelines. But I also think, to echo something that Claudia was saying, which is the fact that at the end of the day, this has to be prioritized. Do you know what I mean? Like, unfortunately, this is happening in the midst of a pandemic, but this absolutely has to be prioritized. They have to be present and they have to be able to make demonstrations. So they're going to do as best they can, but that must be prioritized.
Thank you ever so much. And I hope that answered all of you, the guys that questioned about the coronavirus and the rallies. Thank you ever so much. So thank you, Leroy Logan. Thank you, Claudia Webbe. Thank you, Louis Howell. And thank you, Patrick Vernon. Thank you ever so much for your time out with us. See you and take care. Well, yeah, now it's time to lighten the mood and to get a bit of a feel-good factor going on. And the one person that I know can give me that is the Dark Persuader himself, Anthony Jordan, Lifestyle, Music, Entertainment Corner. Anthony.
Hey, Pam. Thank you. Congratulations, and thank you to absolutely everyone who partook in that. Winsome, thank you for your comments. We couldn't mention it there, but great movements. We'll be seeing a bit more of you later as well. Okay, Pete. There will be more of this. There will be more of this. But right now,
we know this.
Definitely. So
we need
next
a bit
week,
of feel-good factor right now, though.
Yeah, oh yeah, this is it. This is exactly what I was going to say. So right now, the Entertainment Corner has begun, and I'm going to have the honor to welcome somebody once again who was with us in studio when we were allowed in the studio. But right now, thanks to technology, thanks to MediaNet, we will be speaking via this platform. So right now, can I welcome once again Mr. Kirk Diamond? How are you doing, sir?
I'm good. How are you?
I'm very good. I always say this, and I feel like I'm saying it every week. I know the time difference, so thank you so much for being up at this early time for this interview.
No problem.
No, so great. So it's absolutely great to see you again.
Yeah, same to see you too as well.
Yes. So tell us, what have you been up to since we last saw Kirk in the Lifestyle Entertainment Corner?
I was there in 2017, right?
That's correct. Yeah.
Right. So
how time has flown.
Yeah. You haven't aged a bit.
Likewise. The locks have got longer, but the face is still as young.
Yeah. But since that, I won the Juno Award.
Yes, congratulations.
I was only nominated.
Yeah.
And I won that. And we've just been making music. We did a couple tours. We went to the Caribbean, went to Jamaica, we toured Canada, we did some shows in the States. Came back to the UK again in 2018 and 2019. It's almost like I lived there now.
That's good.
Yeah. But that's what we've been doing.
So we'll touch on that one. At the time, I think we were just at the nomination time. You won the Juno. How did it feel for that recognition that the work throughout all the years has been recognized in such an award?
For reggae music to be recognized, especially in a North American country where reggae music isn't the mainstream music, and to be acknowledged with the likes of Michael Bublé and all these other great artists from other genres, it was definitely fulfilling, to see me championing for reggae music and for the culture and for Jamaica here. It was very, very fulfilling for me.
Brilliant, great. As well as that, you also got a Reggae Exclusive Recognition Award as well for Artist of the Year. So you've been busy. just keep it all together. I love it. This has been some great stuff.
Thank you.
Also, there's also you put together a band. I don't think you had the band together when we met you.
No.
Yeah. No. So how did that come about? How did the formation of the band come together?
The formation of the band, whatever I couldn't do physically, like I'm not the greatest at harmonies, I'm not the greatest singer and anything. So anything that I felt like I was lacking, I found someone that could do it. You know what I mean? And with the volume of shows that we had, and they were all band shows, there wasn't any PAs or nothing like that. They all had to be bands. So I put the band together, and the mission in the music, you know what I mean? Like, especially with what's going on now, that's what our music is dedicated to, to help the people. So everybody on the band has the same common goal. So it was easy to transition from being solo to a band.
Brilliant. I like that. I like the synergy. And we actually will be playing one of your videos later on with you and the band. And it flows. I can see that, how you said that seamless transition. It's such a wonderful track that it'll be an honor to bring that up. So you talked about the touring since we've last seen you. A strong relationship with the UK, which proves we're loving what you're bringing. You're bringing it back home to Jamaica, in Canada. What else what other countries do you have in mind once this current pandemic has been lifted?
I really want to go to Africa.
Brilliant.
Yeah, I really want to go to Africa. I want to go to Ethiopia. I want to go to Ghana, Nigeria, Kenya, Uganda. Yeah. I did an interview in Uganda, I think 2 weeks ago, and it was at 4 o'clock in the morning.
Oh, so I'm not too bad then.
Yeah, so you're great.
So again, to have the opportunity to be interviewed in these countries that you would like to tour, it means that they're calling you up because your music's being appreciated. Again, what is it like to know that the movement, as you said, to be recognised and represent reggae in Canada on the platforms such as your Michael Bublé's and all the other genres of music out there, to know that you have reached those areas that you want to touch?
It just shows that I'm doing a good job, you know what I mean? And it's more than just having something to dance to. It's obviously the message in the music that is, you know, resonating with the people, you know what I mean? Because the music that we do is more of something to uplift and to motivate and to inspire. So, and everybody, especially now as we see again, is what the world needs, inspiration and motivation to move forward.
Indeed.
Yeah.
No, that's great stuff. So another question I've been asking our artists during the time, like we had actually scheduled with, you know, had a lockdown not been there, we'd have been in studio having this conversation.
Right.
How has the situation with COVID and current matters at the moment, like as per our last discussion, what is the atmosphere like in Canada at the moment? How are things over there?
Well, with COVID, I mean, this year has been like one thing after another.
Yeah.
Right. So, I mean, with COVID, that canceled all of my shows for the year, so I'm done. Right. So that just has me in studio recording and making new music. And then with the current situation, now we're back outside protesting again. So, I mean, for me, it just has me refocusing on where my music should be. Like, what's the message? What am I going to be saying to the people? You know, so yeah, that's what we've been doing.
No, that's good. That's good. What I like is that you still make it in studio, you're still recording, you're still giving out that positive message, which in a current time like this is very difficult for people. People are getting low, but then you are given that form of entertainment, that source of something, a bit of hope for a better situation. I mean, really sorry to hear that the entire year has been cancelled for you in terms of performing.
Yeah, I mean, at one point they said that we wouldn't be able to go outside until 2021 summer.
It's scary. It's scary, you know, at the moment that there is nothing there in place that guarantees it. But as you said, there are people still out there marching and, you know, protesting and doing what we have to do.
I mean, but we still give thanks for the technology because, I mean,
of course,
we're able to go live stream and still get to the people with music. So that's a plus.
No, most definitely, 100%. At the moment, we're going to be bringing out your video shortly, but is there any social networks that you would like to put out there to tell people how they can get in contact with you, where they can hear more of your music?
Instagram, at Kirk Diamond, KIRKDIAMOND. Facebook, Kirk Diamond and the Movement of RAL. And yeah, Spotify, I'm on all of the major platforms.
Perfect. So as you said, so this is the band that you've put together where they can catch everything. What we're going to do now is feature your video with the band, Give Thanks.
All right, yeah. As I would say. Remember when you see the thing when you trust, me never trust. When we got you up, me never see you give up, girl. Sometimes we argue and sometimes we cuss, but at the end of the day, it's just us. That's why you have my heart, girl. And I will give you my ring, yeah. And I'm gonna give you my love. And I will give you anything, baby girl, you know that you have my heart. You're my queen and I'm your king, yeah. And I wanna give you my love. I wanna give you everything. Because love you never be shatter. Diamond you want at a top shatter. And without you, me know the struggle like a real man of the axe rapper. Protect your heart cause I am your armor from all the damn drama plus drama from karma, don't want that. Are you alone and you feel you know that? And happiness you know what they call that. And I'll show that. All of the other girls realize that you not see them. Why? Because no attention me never give them. The two of we already know you're winning. And you not feel looking at my DM cause you have my heart, girl. And I will give you my ring, yeah. And I'm gonna give you my love. And I will give you anything, baby girl, you know that you have my heart. You're my queen and I'm your king, yeah. And I wanna give you my love. I wanna give you everything. Because I one thing for sure, that love you pure and me no want no more. Can me secure your genuine to the core. Can't find a store where you sell anything where you got. That's a fact. Me say next thing me know, you're just a glow from the seed where me sow. The love I gonna cover up with a show. The world to know say you are my queen, majesty. And the thing that you do me, how you do that. Nah complain, me love it when time you do that. Far where we going, me can't see where you go back. Perfect, me no see nothing here where you lack. The thing that you do me, how you do that. The thing that you do me, how you do that. Far where we going, me can't see where you go back. Perfect, me no see nothing here where you lack. Cause you have my heart. and I will give you my ring, yeah. And I will give you my love, and I will give you anything. Baby girl, you know that you have my heart. You're my queen and I'm your king. And I'm gonna give you my love. I wanna give you everything. Cause you are my heart. And I will give you my ring, yeah. And I'm gonna give you my love. And I will give you anything. Baby girl, you know that you are my heart. You're my queen and I'm your king. And I wanna give you my love. I wanna give you everything.
Okay, my mistake. That was I Will. We will be featuring Give Thanks next week. Love the track, by the way. Love the track, love the track. So when was that? Is that currently out for everyone to be able to purchase at the moment?
Yeah, everybody can get that right now. That's out.
Perfect.
That's I Will.
Okay, and again, this was recorded pre-quarantine in case anyone's questioning.
Yeah. No, we weren't outside.
No.
We weren't outside doing that. No,
brilliant. Kirk, time is catching up on us, unfortunately, but it's been a pleasure having you again. If you could just put your contacts one more time out there for everyone to get hold of you, where they can buy the music.
Yes,
and we'll catch up again in the future.
At Kurt Diamond on Instagram, Spotify, iTunes, Kurt Diamond, Kurt Diamond and the Movement of Ariel on Facebook. And yeah, good to see you again, Anthony.
Yes, perfect. Great one. And we will definitely catch up when all of this is there and have you back in studio. Thank you very much.
No problem.
Okay, cheers. Thank you. Bye-bye. Okay, guys, we are going to keep it a bit more on the musical side. I did promise you this video last week. This was our guest, Ravon, and this is his track.
Girl, me want you and you want me. Yeah. Let's get together for your love party. Brand new one for real, for the sugar me.
I see you looking, girl. I can see it in your eyes, and it's no surprise, yeah. I see you wanting, girl. I can see it in your smile, and I love your vibe, yeah.
Looking in your eyes is a seductive. Want put your loving girl in a captive. Flirting with you get me well active. Emotion spread like you radioactive. Natural affinity me have for you. Want hold your hug and kiss squeeze you. Passionate love me want make with you. Make you scream and scream and stop continue.
I see you looking, girl. I can see it in your eyes, and it's no surprise, yeah. I see you wanting, girl. I can see it in your smile, and I love your vibe.
Me and you together, girl, all kind of thing. You be the queen and me be the king. Night and day, just love me a king. Pon your finger, me ever slip on the ring.
Girl, you make me heart that sing. Bring it, come here, hot girl in a the ring. Yo, girl, you just give me that body. Yo, because you're such a hottie. I see you looking, girl. I can see it in your eyes, and it's no surprise, yeah. I see you wanting, girl. I can see it in your smile, and I love your vibe, yeah. I see you looking, girl. I can see it in your eyes, and it's no surprise, yeah. I see you wanting, girl. I can see it in your smile, and I love your vibe.
Beautiful girl, your hair.
Okay, that was as promised. Ravon and Sugar Bear, I See You. Fantastic track. So before we do reveal the last one, because I think it would be perfect and really fitting to close the show, can I welcome Pam back? Look at that, I'm calling Pam to the show. How dare I call you up?
Yeah, wonderful to see Kirk Diamond. Yeah, he has
I know, not at all. I know.
Tell me about
such a fantastic voice.
Tell me about your cream, Kirk. I want to know about your
I know. It's but it was so great to see it, and the voice hasn't changed. It's been a fantastic one, and you can see.
I just want to do a quick message, Anthony, before we do come out with that video. Northampton Carnival have sent out a message. Now, they say, despite the current situation, which means limiting social events and gatherings, and for the safety of their communities, they the Northampton Carnival Association Committee will be celebrating the Carnival, Northampton Carnival 2020, the online edition. And that's from 2 p.m. on Saturday, 13th of June. 2 p.m. Saturday, 13th of June. Look out for their posts and on their website and social media leading up to the event. It's all the W's. Northampton Carnival. All one word, northamptoncarnival.co.uk. That's Saturday, 13th of June. Whoa, 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 Calypso, online.
It's nice to see it still going. I'm sorry, I just wanted to say that someone said they were at Hyde Park and they saw masks being given out during the protest. So thank you for letting us know that there are people helping in this time that we can still protest and still be safe. So,
Anthony, it's so good to know because a lot of the questions were sort of like related to, great to do the protest, but hold on a minute, there's still a pandemic going on and the BAME community, were likely to get it, 5 times, or so that was a question that was popping up all the time. I can only read that one. The panel answered that beautifully, and thank you for them. At this point, I'd like to say thank you to MediaNet and the management team of Tamaray Event Designers, and also Illustrious Incorporated. And I want to just say, as always, to stay safe, stay strong, and stay blessed.
Amen. Thank you. I couldn't have said it better. Thank you, Bobby Lashley. Saw 3 of your comments there. And as I said, guys, this is the UK Reggae Collective. Some very powerful, beautiful voices in this song.
And recognise a very familiar face there.
Oh, yes. The regular lifestyle viewers will know that. Edited by Henrietta Media, Miss Allsec Nash. So thank you for putting this together. It's a tune that's out there just to raise the spirits, both during COVID and during this movement. It's a remake of the song My God Is Real. It's my perfect way, guys. As Pam said, stay safe. Have a good one. See ya. Bye.
But it just can't lose. Just can't lose. Just can't lose. On and on and on and on. My God is real. Oh hey. So real I can feel it. Feel it. Feel it. The power of love. Defines the whole meaning. living forever. Iva. My God is real. Hey. So real I can feel it. The power of love. So fight on for mean it. My God is real. So real. So real. Ooh, yes. My God is real.